Hey everyone, Steven here from Redolessence, and welcome back to another fragrance review. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'm very happy to be sharing with you my thoughts on a brand new fragrance from the house of Dolce Gabbana. This is their most recent release, and this one goes by the name Intenso. So here's the bottle, beautiful brown chic, classy, elegant bottle. Released just this year in 2014, but unfortunately the perfumer has not been made available to the general public. Now I do know that the parent company for Dolce & Gabbana is Procter & Gamble. They also make Lacoste fragrances, and I know that they have outsourced their perfumers from a couple of different companies like IFF and Givaudan in the past. So it's very possible and also highly likely that the perfumer for this fragrance is also from one of these two companies. Now the classification for this fragrance is a woody aromatic, and as the name would imply, Intenso, this is an intense and more robust version of something, but of what? Of course, the original Dolce & Gabbana, which was released back in 1994, which is kind of like an aquatic basil lavender scent. So, as the name would imply, this is a more intense version of that. I'm going to let you know if I think that that is indeed true. Next up, let's take a look at the presentation. The presentation for Intenso is stunning. You have a really nice box here with a velour fabric on it, and it encompasses the entire perimeter of the box. Really nice fabric. You can't tell by looking at it, but it's there. You have Intenso written here at the top, Dolce Gabbana at the bottom with the size and concentration at the bottom here. And then at the very bottom of the box, you have a UPC code. The serial number can be located to the left of it. On the very back is where you find the ingredients, and that's pretty much it as far as the box goes. As far as the bottle goes, this is the real highlight of the presentation. Really nice bottle, classy, timeless, elegant, and chic. Very evocative of the original, released in the mid-90s. Intenso written here at the front, Dolce & Gabbana down here at the bottom with a parfum concentration, and then you have a sticker at the bottom with some more pertinent information, which should coincide with the ones found on the bottom of the box. Now you do have a plastic cap, but it has a metallic finish. It does click into place very securely, and the distribution on the atomizer is great for this fragrance. It sprays out enough relative to the concentration, and that has been the presentation for Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana. It goes without saying that Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana is by far one of my most anticipated fragrances for the year of 2014. I couldn't wait to get my hands on this bottle, and that's because it possesses one of the most intriguing note breakdowns that I have ever come across in a fragrance before, especially considering that it features two notes, or accords if you will, that were never featured in any other fragrance before ever. So right away I was initially intrigued. I got myself a bottle of this fragrance, and I'm ready to tell you what I think of it. So the first two notes that really caught me by surprise and really piqued my interest are the notes of tobacco and hay. But right away when I thought of these two notes, it immediately reminded me of another fragrance that I have in my collection that I've had for a long time now and that I absolutely love, one by Serge Lutens, and it's called Chergui. And right away when I smelled this fragrance, the comparison is so disparate. They're so far unlike each other. It really blew me away. And I guess I was expecting this one to have a really thick, rich, moist pipe tobacco, kind of a tobacco note, but it really has more of like an herbal, leafy tobacco note, as in a tobacco leaf that was recently cultivated from a tobacco plantation. And the tobacco note in this fragrance is kind of along the same lines of Versace's The Dreamer. So if you like more of a leafy, herbal, smooth tobacco, you might like this fragrance. And then as far as the note of hay goes, in the way that I've experienced it in other fragrances like Sova by Slumber House and of course Chergui by Serge Lutens, it's not very noticeable in this fragrance, so I don't even think it's too worthy of a mention, even though I just mentioned it. I also think that this fragrance was initially perceived by me to be unique because it contains the accord of mopal. And mopal, from the research that I've done, is a type of fruit-bearing tree that's native to southern parts of the continent of Africa, and the wood is used by fishermen to create a conal-shaped fish trap. The fruit is also a staple in many monkeys' diets, and it also has a sweet taste. Now, as far as its use in this fragrance goes, being that it is an accord, I'm left to assume that It also has nuances of the fruit as well as the wood, and this fragrance does have a noticeably balsamic characteristic. It is noticeably woody, but as far as it being sweet and fruity, I don't really get that from this fragrance. So how dominant of a presence this note has in this fragrance that I've never smelled before prior to the release of this fragrance, I can't really confirm and or validate that, but I will say that it is noticeably woody. And the other note that this fragrance contains that has never been used in another fragrance before is the note of bran. Yes, bran, as you would find it in a cereal grain. And when you smell it after a while, it does kind of give off that vibe, as weird as that sounds, and you would think that it would compromise the compatibility of the other notes, but it really doesn't. It actually smells quite nice. Now, I think that an unsuspecting consumer would really be intrigued and caught off guard by the note breakdown. But to be honest with you, I don't think that this is a fragrance that's very true to its note breakdown. Now, getting into the name, Intenso, I don't think this is an intense version of the original. I think that what really characterized the original was the note of lavender in combination with basil and some aquatic tinges. As far as this one goes, this is actually a soapier version of the original. And I think that what's to attribute to the soapy nuance that this fragrance possesses is this leafy tobacco note that you get in the opening. And then what you're left with is basically the original. I think that this bears way too many similarities to the original, and I think for an intense version, which is what I was expecting, I was really put down. And I think that's because I had this expectation versus reality thing, where I really expected it to be this robust, powerful, rich, intense version of the original, and then I get like a légère version of the original. I get like a soapy version of the original, which is what a lot of other people have been saying about this fragrance too, so I'm not alone. I think that this is a really nice fragrance, and that's a good thing about it, is that this does smell very similar to the original, and the original is a really nice fragrance. So syllogistically speaking, this is also a really nice fragrance. However, if you have the original and you wanted a more intense version, I don't think you're going to get it with this. If you have the original and you're running low on it and you want to try something different, go ahead and give this one a try, even though the difference is very mild. Unless you're a collector, I really wouldn't warrant a purchase for this fragrance, because I do think that it possesses more similarities than differences, from the original. However, I do think that this is a very nice fragrance. I think that the original should warrant all the credit for the originality of the composition, but if you are looking for a nice, milder alternative with some subtle differences, definitely check out Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana. Also would like to note that this fragrance has a very high compliment factor. My fiance loves it, and a few of her friends who I let try this fragrance also happen to love it. So thanks for watching. Last up, we have the rating. First up, we have uniqueness and overall smell, and I ended up giving Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana a 7 out of 10. I think that on its own and for its own, this is a great fragrance. I do think that it bears a lot of similarities to the original Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, so for that reason, in and of itself, the original should receive and warrant all of the credit for the originality of the composition. Nevertheless, I do think that this is a very nice fragrance. Please make sure you give it a try if you own the original and you're looking to try something new but subtly different. Next up, we have longevity. Also gave it a 7 out of 10. This is eau de parfum concentration, so 6 to 8 hours is expected. This one performs just average on my skin, so I ended up giving it a 7 for the 7 hours that I get average from it. Next up, we have projection. I also gave it a 7 out of 10. Now this one radiates within an arm's length, I would say, for about the first 3 hours, then it starts sitting a little bit closer to the skin, and even though the projection is not the best for this fragrance, it doesn't really project and jump up off your skin. It is eau de parfum concentration, so it will project a little bit more subtly, but for a longer period of time. But I think that for this fragrance compositional nature and for the occasions for which the wearing of this fragrance is appropriate, I think the projection is right where it's supposed to be. Next up, we have versatility. I give this one a 9 out of 10. Now, I don't believe in fragrances being gender biased. I think they're all gender neutral, but this is marketed for men, and being that it bears so many similarities to the original with which we have associated men wearing since 1994, I would say this one might work a little bit better better on a guy. I think in terms of age range, I could see a teenager all the way up until a mature gentleman, maybe perhaps in their 50s or 60s, wearing this fragrance. As far as social scenarios go, you can wear this casually, signature scent worthy for sure. You can wear this one on a date, high compliment factor, suit and tie, shirt and tie, semi-formally and formally. It would work well in all scenarios. As far as seasons go, it would work well in the colder weather because of the compositional nature. It would work well in the hotter weather because of the performance or lack thereof, if you will. And lastly, we do have the presentation. I already told you what I think about that. I actually really like the presentation. I think they did a really good job with it, especially with the box. I ended up giving it a 9 out of 10 for presentation. And overall, I'm going to give Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana a 7 out of 10. I think that this is a great fragrance. If you like the original and you just ran out of your bottle and you're looking to try something new but mildly different, please make sure you give this one a try. If you've smelled the original in passing and you also want to try something similar to it, give this one a try. If you own a full bottle of the original and you've yet to run out of it, I think that having this in your collection would be a redundant purchase. So there you have it. That was my review of Intenso by Dolce & Gabbana. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to rate and subscribe for future videos and frequent giveaways. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Steven with another fragrance review from Redolessence. See you soon.